Dr. Charles Huffling, a psychiatrist actively interested in the American West, wrote the first full-length psychohistory of George Armstrong Custer in 1981, entitled Custer and the Little Bighorn, a Psychobiographical Inquiry. According to Dr. Huffling, one of the key features in any personality is the psychological maneuvers by means of which anxieties are warded off and emotional equilibrium maintained. Custer's principal anxiety came from a deep-seated sense of inferiority. Custer had to convince himself and those around him that he wasn't inferior. He had to prove that the opposite was true, and this often entailed a very exaggerated performance. In other words, tendencies towards being seen as insecure, help-seeking, or nourishment-needing were turned into a confident, aggressive attitude. Huffling says, as is usually the case when a defense mechanism is used unconsciously, there is a tendency towards exaggeration. Thus, independence and confidence became flamboyance and belligerence. Custer's life was a self-perpetuating cycle. A sense of humiliation and shame led to vigorous efforts at achievement in order to restore feelings of well-being. But after a time, Custer's deep-seated sense of inferiority led to more self-destructive behavior. The resulting loss of status gave fresh stimulation to the sense of humiliation and shame, and the cycle started over. In 1876, Custer had been summoned to Washington to testify in congressional hearings aimed at Secretary of War William Belknap. Custer's testimony alienated him from President Grant, who subsequently removed Custer from command of the Dakota Column, organized for the 1876 campaign against the Sioux. Custer found himself in St. Paul, Minnesota on May the 6th, condemned by the president's order to remain behind and see his comrades go to war. After much pleading on the part of Custer and others, the president allowed Custer to rejoin the campaign, but only as commander of his own regiment, the 7th U.S. Cavalry. Huffling writes, Custer reacted to a sense of humiliation with a surge of glory-seeking activity designed to wipe out the negative emotions. Custer was a prisoner of his psychology, which impacted his judgment and led to his final defeat.